how many times has this happened to you? During the worst time of the year, come on, in the freezing cold. So cold. Chances are, not too often. Maybe if you have a bad sensor or you haven't cleaned your stove in like 5 years. But there's another reason. Wet pellets. Oh, God. Maybe your local co-op didn't store them well. Maybe the bags got rained on in the back of your truck on the way home. Maybe you got home and didn't bring them in right away during a storm of biblical proportions. You can't leave those bags out in the elements, you know. They have little holes in them. Water gets in. Whatever the reason, your pellets have now taken in water and have swelled up like little micro tampons. These have now exploded into millions of little tiny sawdust particles. You now have a crappy bag, or bags, full of damp, mixed wet pellets and sawdust, just waiting to wreak havoc on your auger. If you don't know any better, you might just start dumping it into the hopper, even though the little voice in your head is telling you otherwise. I don't know who would do that. This damp, chaffy mess may work for a bit, but eventually you're going to end up clogging up and see an error message like this. I'm going to show you how to deal with this if this happens to you. Luckily, it can be a pretty quick fix, which is good because more than likely it'll happen during sub-freezing temps. Not everyone has dug into their pellet stove or knows the right things to look for or the things to be aware of whenever you get into the thing, especially if it's an insert. If it's a standalone, that's a pretty easy deal. But when it's an insert, you're dealing with tight spaces. So there's a lot of potential for wires and things to get broken up or smushed, that whole thing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right in here is where we need to pull the auger out and then jam this bad boy. But first, unplug the power source. All right, now that you unscrewed the one screw there, now you gotta lift up on this. Push it up. I can't really see what I'm doing there. Push up to release it. Ooh, and then pull it out. Now you can see in there, all the dust from the wet pellets is all caked in there. So that's the reason for the jam right there. See all that right there. Okay, so we're just gonna take our shop vac and we're gonna suck all that stuff out right now. Okay, we'll just get that a little bit out right now. We'll pull the auger out the rest of the way so we can really get in there. Okay, I just unhooked all those little wires there from those clasps. Now we're gonna yank this thing out. And voila! I'm pretty sure these wires go to something. You want to know how fragile these damn pellet stoves are and why I hate them? This little part, little 5-10 pin wiring harness, can bring your heat to a screeching halt. No good. If you're like me and you like creating more work for yourself, make sure that you do not unplug the optical sensor from the auger feed motor before you pull it out. You will ensure yourself that you will indeed create more work, and you'll end up having to solder the little wiring harness back on and hoping that it works. like yours truly. Bonus soldering footage! All right, let's fire this baby up, see if it works. All right, auger's going back in. The dogs are obviously excited about it too. All right, the auger is back in and screwed into place. And my Mickey Mouse job on the wiring harness there is put together somewhat. So let's see how this thing goes. All right, this is looking like a good sign. Let's put some pellets in there and see if it works. Starting up. And look at that. Well, it worked for one day. That unfortunately did not work, so I have a part on order, the optical sensor, and it'll be here in a few days, so I guess we just freeze our butts off until then. So don't let this happen to you. The optical sensor that I hold in my hand came a day early. Let's get some freaking BTUs going on! Little Orange to the rescue. Alright, those two screws are undone. Now you're going to pop this off. Right there. It's going to still be connected to the wiring harness right there. Then you're just going to unclip that. Alright, there. You're pressing the little clip there and just pull it right out. Out with the old, in with the new. Let's go ahead and just plug this in first. Yeah, that just clips right in there like that, and then you'll have this hanging down, the sensor part. And then you're going to go ahead and stick that back on top like we did originally. And yes, I'm in very awkward positions. That's why I'm grunting. Okay, there we go. Boom. Then we're going to put the screws in. All right, now the piece is all on there. So you can take these and stick these back in these clips. When you do anything inside these things, you have to be really careful. I didn't unclip some of these like I should have, or pull them out of the clips even, but you want to make sure you get this stuff out of the way when you're working in here. It's a really tight space. And there's, with these edges here, it's really easy to, you know, push these things against and break the wires inside. So you want to make sure you're really careful whenever you do that, when you do any kind of work inside here. All right, let's fire this thing up and see what we got. I'm stoked. Okay, this is what we currently have since it's unplugged. No reading whatsoever. So we're gonna go plug in right now. Silly me, I forgot the hopper sensor. We have pellet drop. God, this thing is dirty. Thank God it has been a cold 4 days. You don't even understand. Okay, everything is rolling like it should. Let's just sit here and marvel at the beauty. So the side note takeaway here is that on the Quadrafire Mt. Vernon AE model, to make sure that you unplug the optical switch or the optical sensor before attempting to remove the auger. Otherwise, you're gonna yank those wires out and you're gonna have to end up waiting for parts. Total pain. Optical sensors aren't very common. On our Mt. Vernon AE stove, they use them to verify the auger feed motor speed. On other brands, they're used to monitor airflow into the pellet stove. So just go lightly, don't yank on things too hard like I did. That was the problem. I started pulling on the auger. It wasn't giving. I got to a certain point and there was resistance. I just thought it was the part itself. And I kept going and I kept going and I finally just, I yanked it, and that's what yanked the wires out of the harness. So don't do that. Make sure you kind of look around the parts and make sure everything's in plug that needs to be, and just go gentle. And I digress. So getting back to the wet pellets. So the next thing you want to do after you get done vacuuming out the auger chamber there, you want to make sure you get down into the drop tube, get that all cleaned out, and then go up top to the hopper, vacuum that all out. Make sure you go down into the inside where the fire pot is, clean all that up, get inside the fire pot, pull the baffle out, get all back inside there. Real basic cleaning there, you should be good to go. That's all there is to it, really. Make sure you keep your pellets dry and all will be good. Thanks for watching. If you like that video, make sure to give a thumbs up. If you feel so inclined, hit that little subscribe button there somewhere along the way. More tips for the common man or woman from the great rural north in Washington state, visit thegrubbyhubby.com or come here to our YouTube channel. We're adding regular content now to it. Everything from hunting to commuting with a chainsaw to renovating our 1915 Craftsman. It's all about rural living. It's all about everything to do with that and self-sufficiency. So we'll see you soon. Thanks again for dropping by.